DDG episode 241. My name is Dave, and I'm joined by Michael.
Dave, it's late. It's nice out though. I was going to complain about the cold, but it's actually nice out for once. I have some energy. I had to go to a conference today. They have a new flavor of soda, so I have energy, Dave. I think I have energy. We'll see how long this lasts.
What kind of Coke is that now?
It's orange cream. So they had orange vanilla 4 years ago, but it didn't survive the pandemic.
You have some really, really weird food takes that we've already unwrapped before, or interesting food takes. I will not say weird, but you drink orange Coke, and then you criticize some of the things that I do.
It's a new flavor, Dave.
It's orange Coke. Like it's like taking a creamsicle and dropping it in like RC soda.
And Dave, review kind of tastes like shit.
But you're gonna finish it because you have standards.
No, because I'm from the Midwest and we don't waste things. So I'm going to finish this.
So you only bought one, just to be clear. You didn't buy a case or a 3-pack or a 6-pack. So this is like a gas station soda.
Yeah, I went to 7-Eleven because there's a new Dr. Pepper flavor, and Dr. Pepper is my backup.
So what's the new Dr. Pepper flavor?
Blackberry Dr. Pepper.
I might like that.
Also, it's not bad, but I couldn't buy a case of it.
Okay.
If I bought a case of it, I would be sick of it. But as like a one-time or once-in-a-while thing, not terrible.
Because I like cherry Coke, I like cherry Pepsi, and then I drink a lot of like the water bottle flavor thing that I have is like a black cherry.
I'm still hurt that they got rid of cherry vanilla Coca-Cola because that was a really good combo. It was really good. This isn't too bad. This hurts my teeth because it does just taste like a creamsicle.
Yeah. Do you like creamsicles?
Kind of. Like I wouldn't buy a box, but if
so is it a creamsicle or is it orange sherbet?
No, it's a creamsicle.
Okay, you know what sherbet is, right?
Yes, I know what sherbet is.
I'm just making sure. You probably think that's bad too.
It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite.
Okay, are you? Because this came up on the boat. So are you a custard, ice cream, or like soft served like yogurt guy?
Just ice cream. I don't know if I've ever really had custard.
Okay.
Though I had Culver's.
Culver's is custard. Yes.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Okay.
What was the other one?
I can't, like the yogurt.
Yogurt?
No. Yogurt ice cream, soft like
Okay. Nope, not at all.
Yeah, so it was
too
like
bougie for me.
Yeah, no, this was like like on the cruise that Owen didn't eat it, thankfully, but this was like highlighter pink, like coming out of the machine, like out of the like the pull down machine, like for ice cream. Do you know like what I'm talking about? Like where you walk in? Yeah. So
they used to have them at Old Country Buffet.
Yeah. Okay. That was how ice cream was on a cruise, by the way.
Yeah.
So just chilling. Like there's like 6 ice cream machines. You can just go up to it whenever you want.
That doesn't sound terrible. That sounds like for a kid it'd be great the first like day.
Oh no, it went all 5 days. Like he had 4 or 5 ice cream cones like every day. He never had ice cream cone either. He always put it in bowls, and I'm like, why don't you just get a cone and you don't have to worry about taking the bowl back? And
here's a question: is it buffet style in terms of they had a tray of sprinkles and toppings you can put on it, or was it just
ice cream? Yeah, I don't really think that I don't think that they had. If they had the toppings thing, like I don't think that they had. I don't remember seeing it.
That was my favorite part of Old Country Buffet.
Yeah, I know. You like dip it in sprinkles or whatever.
Exactly.
So, all right. So we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that posts typically on Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time on podcast services. You can rate us on Spotify. You can subscribe to us on your podcast services. You can watch us live on Twitch or YouTube. Both of those are, each of those is youtube.com/Digital Days Gaming and twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming. And then you can also check the replay on YouTube, the live, or you can check the rebroadcast of the live show, or you can listen to the audio only version that gets uploaded to YouTube as well as YouTube Music, I believe.
Yes.
So like that was where, so you can, some places block YouTube or don't block YouTube because it's an educational thing. So if you're on some, company Wi-Fi, you can probably still turn us on either through the, desktop or through the mobile app. It just shows up there. If you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, thank you. If you're following us on Twitch, thank you. Consider checking your subscription if you have subscribed to us previously. Other than that, everything is linked in the show notes, and you can check out the website at digitaldaysgaming.com. And we are going to jump into the news.
Yeah, we have a few news stories we did miss last week, and some stuff came up here and there. There's a lot of stuff happening with NetEase that is developing, so we'll probably check back on NetEase and all their crazy happenings probably within the next week or two as more stuff develops. I was also talking to Dave beforehand, before we started recording, of just like, we need to cover Shuhei Yoshida's podcast tour in some form, because the amount of interesting things he's dropping in these different podcasts have been just super fascinating in terms of who greenlit Concord, the vision at PlayStation, games that were canceled, games that they should have picked up and didn't. There's a ton of stuff. So like, if you haven't listened to any of them, just type in, Shuhei Yoshida podcast, and like 4 or 5 different channels are going to pop up with like individual podcasts with him. I don't know, Dave, if you followed any of those. But
no, and like some of the stuff you're saying about greenlighting Concord and stuff like that, like interest me. So I'll have to do some reading. I actually tried to diligently disconnect while I was on the boat. So because internet's expensive on a boat. So
yeah.
But and it also was just kind of good to just try to, I realized that I sit in front of my phone a lot, whether it's like TikTok or Facebook Reels or YouTube Shorts or in that crap. And this kind of helped somewhat mentally reset me. And I pretty much, even though I took my ROG with me, I pretty much did not play games at all, like not even on the flights or anything like that. So
it's a good thing to stay disconnected.
I had it, but it worked, and I always had it there as a backup. But most of my flights were like less than 2 hours. So if because I flew like Detroit to Nashville, Nashville to Houston, and typically, like by the time the plane starts taking off and you get to the point where you can, like put your tray table down or whatever, it's already 20 or 30 minutes in the flight, and then another 20 or 30 minutes near the end of the flight, you have to put your stuff back up. So it really only left me an hour and 10 minutes. Like that's not really enough time to really get into it.
Yeah, no, I definitely recommend finding some of that stuff. I've Kind of Funny had one, Min-Max had one. I want to say someone was reviewing, I guess he did an interview with Shuhei, or Shuhei did an interview with Sacred Symbols, the Colin Moriarty podcast. So like,
which doesn't surprise me. He had a really good relationship with Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller, both.
Yeah. So, which is why I think Kind of Funny had the first one, and then he had like the second or third one. And I think they go like 2-3 hours with him for The Last Stand. I haven't even got to that one. Most of the news I've picked up
is The Last Stand one. Is it behind his paywall or no?
It should be on his YouTube soon.
Okay.
So clips. I don't subscribe to his podcast, but like I was picking up clips.
He does get a lot of traffic on social media, like retweets and people like doing his clips and stuff like that, which is totally fine. Both of those companies, by the way, are doing fantastic for themselves.
Yeah. So definitely recommend looking up all of Shu's stuff that he's been doing. But let's jump into the news that we do have right now. Dave might have some homework of some of those podcasts, so we can dive into them next week.
I'll wait for my supervisor, who is Michael, to assign me my links. It's just usually what happens.
I'll just set those links up. All right. So first news story is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 seem to be coming. Remakes of 3 and 4. So Activision and Tony Hawk have been teasing something new for Tony Hawk, and all signs are pointing to a Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 remake, similar to what they did for 1+2 or 1 and 2. A couple weeks ago, a random skater said that he's going to be featured in the upcoming Tony Hawk game, and a lot of people were like, "What upcoming Tony Hawk game?" And then shortly after that, Call of Duty in-game was teasing a 3/4/25 reveal. In one of their maps that has a skate shop. That led to the Tony Hawk Pro Skater website then updating with those same dates of 3/4/25. And then some internet sleuths kind of got into like some of the, the code that anyone can pull up, but they like dug around the website, and it showed that Iron Galaxy is connected to something specific with this update. And Iron Galaxy did the PC port for Vicarious Visions, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. Which was actually a pretty good like port of it. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward to this week, and Tony Hawk has put out even more stuff that is basically saying like, hey, we're doing something with Tony Hawk 3 and 4, posting stuff with a lot of the old skaters from that game, minus Bam Margera. And then the Singaporean rating board has officially rated Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4. So they've been officially rated, and it all is pointing to a Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 remake. So as everyone knows, Tony Hawk 3 is one of my favorite games of all time, maybe my favorite game of all time, period. And this is something I'm excited for. Dave, I want your take because I know you kind of like the Tony Hawk games a little bit.
They were fun for me at the time when they were out. Like I can remember like breaking through the windows and doing the tricks and, you know, trying to collect the tapes and finding the little secret areas and just kind of overall just like having fun with those. I don't know if that's kind of like my wheelhouse like now of something like I would like to do for like my current time of just how I game, which is terribly broken in general. But I think anytime that you can try to revitalize a genre to potentially like, because what's the one like Skate 4, like that's being like that was like a big deal.
It's just rebranded as Skate.
Yeah. And so like if this, you know, if that kind of thing can come back, like I'd love to have those. I love for anybody to be able to game in any form, however that comes, whether that's you know, a mobile game, a skating game, a Rock Band game, or like whatever those things are that to do that. I think it's very important for people to just be comfortable with what they want to play and know what they want to play. And if the Tony Hawk gets more people to, whether it's buy consoles or, you know, do whatever, like I think it's great. So, and I don't like, am I gonna buy it? Probably not. Am I gonna get upset if it's gifted to me? No, I'll probably check it out. But I don't see it on my list to buy though.
Like I'm excited just to get those games again in whatever form it comes. Whether it's like some people are speculating it might be an expansion to 1+2, making like a full hub, and they'll just re-release 1, 2, 3, and 4 all together, or 3 and 4 standalone. Whatever way they release it, I'm on board. Obviously, and this is one of those things where we didn't think this was going to be possible because Activision, before they were acquired by Microsoft, basically killed Vicarious Visions by making them Blizzard Buffalo, I think.
Sounds about right. Yeah, or Blizzard East, I think.
Yeah, and they basically became Diablo team, like the extension of the so. But
I think this is the Black Book. Like this is that little notebook, that little playbook that each studio has, where what we hoped is that Phil Spencer, Aaron Greenberg, whomever making their rounds after the purchasing was like, let's see, like Hi-Fi Rush. I feel like Hi-Fi Rush was kind of in that book. Whether you think it was successful or you think it was unsuccessful, I don't care. I'm just saying that it was in this book. Like to think that they don't have the work done, Vicarious Visions people or anything like that, and in terms of, because more than likely this is going to be a Game Pass thing. So in terms of continuing the cadence that they're trying to accomplish with Game Pass, this fills that niche. This can advertise. You can hashtag this. You can get some. I don't even like. I used to watch it as a kid and as a teenager, but like so this is February now. So like usually like is it like April or May that I know the X Games are still a thing, but I don't know how much of a thing they are.
Sure,
but at the same time that they're enough of a thing that people watch them. To where like, hey, you know, Tony Hawk 3 and 4 remastered, free with Game Pass. Huh? What's that? Like, let's look at like what's Game Pass.
Or I remember that.
Yeah, and then like, what's this Game Pass thing? It's Netflix for video games. Okay, I'll give it a shot. And then hell, at that time they might even have it on their TV.
Yeah, honestly, this would be a perfect thing to broadcast during like the NBA playoffs.
Yeah,
like ads for this.
March Madness.
Get a lot of nostalgia pop. Yeah, March Madness. This is one of those things where like. We probably wouldn't have gotten this if, you know, Microsoft didn't acquire Activision.
Because Kodak wouldn't have believed in it.
Yeah, because as far as we know, like when 1 and 2 came out, and then they like was it like a couple months later is when they basically transferred that studio to Blizzard. There were reports of like they had already started on Tony Hawk 3, like developing it because they thought like, oh, we sold a bajillion copies because they did. It sold really well. Activision was saying like it's a success, but Activision being like it's not as big of a success as it can be.
Yeah.
So it sounds like work had already started on it. So the Iron Galaxy being the main developer on this potentially isn't the worst thing, because if work had already been started, that's easier for Iron Galaxy to see that vision through.
Yeah.
Because they have experience porting the PC
version. Yeah, but this is what Iron Galaxy does.
Yes. And sometimes they do have a bad time when they do some of this stuff, but they at least have experience with it enough that this should be a slam dunk for them.
Yeah.
The only thing that, you know, could be a bummer is, you know, like there's a lot of licensing for music that needs to be taken care of for these games. That is important to the players. I would say they were like 98% of the way there on the soundtrack in the last 2 remakes. And then also there's some issues with some skaters. You know, some skaters have gone down some dark paths the last couple years that might not be able to be included. So there's some small hurdles that they need to like get over and figure out. But for the most part, this should be relatively easy if we're talking about like, hey, the engine is done.
Yeah.
And it works and it's nice. The online just sucked. But it's now just them transferring those maps
really
over.
care about the online for Tony Hawk? Like, really care?
It was broken enough that you couldn't have any experience with it. I would think most people would rather have a bare bones online multiplayer.
Like a leaderboard or something at least. Yeah.
And that wasn't even working.
Okay.
So it was like I believe it's unplayable.
Yeah, I mean
online.
every genre, every video game player, every person has a what I would call like a trigger. Okay, and like the example I can use right now is like I'm gonna download Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And do you know why I'm gonna download Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Michael?
Why?
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I want to play it, and it gives me a reason to play it. They sound like they're expensive as hell, like $19.99 a turtle, which is kind of like ridiculous for like a skin. But I gotta see. But it sounds like it's like fully voiced, and there's a group of people that listen to the show that play Call of Duty on a pretty regular basis on Mondays. So that's the hint. That's kind of what got me into Fortnite for a little bit. I played Fortnite for a couple months. I still randomly dabble with it, mostly now not as much because Owen's not playing as much as he was before. But those are little, spikes in the player base that show that people are like, oh, why are they doing this? Because it makes money. And, to your point, the cadence and what the Microsoft wants to do is like, okay, it's another notch on the belt on the library, and the hope is that it increases subscribers somewhat.
Yeah. And this seems like something that's going to be coming out soon because the way they're marketing it seems like it could be relatively soon. And then also it's been rated, which means it's usually within the same year, maybe 6 months.
Then the Singapore place is usually a slam dunk. Yeah.
So if it does happen and it is real, like it should be something that comes out relatively soon and would be something that can fill that summer for Xbox because Xbox has the next 2 or 3 months planned out pretty well. And then Tony Hawk can fill that summer gap and take them into whatever they're going to have for the holiday season.
Yep.
So it just makes sense to where, if you're Xbox and you're like, what can we greenlit and what can we get to fill time? You have the Tony Hawk franchise is sitting there. And it's a remake, which we've been told remakes for the most part are not, I don't want to say easy.
Low investment, high ROI.
Yeah, exactly. So it is one of those things where they looked at it and were like, let's just do that. And we might actually be getting that.
Vicarious Vision, Blizzard East, or whatever can do both right now, I would assume. Like we're working with Iron Galaxy, they can probably do both. They can work on the Diablo stuff that they need to work on, and they can still have a team of, I don't even know, 15, 12, 18. I don't know what the numbers.
You could have Iron Galaxy do the heavy lifting. And you just have some people in Vicarious Visions
jumping on the team's calls, making sure it's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So this could work out pretty well, and I'm excited. I'll buy another collector's edition if they have one. The next story, we don't usually cover PS Plus Essential offerings or Xbox Game Pass offerings too much unless it's like a big press conference. So this one caught me off guard. Dragon Age Veilguard is coming to March PlayStation Plus Essential.
This is the lowest tier.
Yeah. PlayStation Plus Essentials.
Yeah. So like the $70 a year tier or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So less than 6 months after release, Dragon Age Veilguard is coming to Essentials, joining Sonic Colors and TMNT Cowabunga Collection. EA had stated in the past that Dragon Age, despite having a strong launch, ultimately sales fell off a cliff and they had to do studio layoffs and told BioWare they need to refocus their development efforts to just kind of being a one game sort of studio thing. So BioWare saw a lot of mass exodus for the people that weren't laid off, and this seemed like a mess, and everything was pointing to Veilguard being the reason all that happened. And EA even said at a certain point, Veilguard failed so bad, this is why our earnings were down, which seemed a little like overblown because it's like football club is why your sales were so far down. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this seems like EA.
The FIFA name actually meant something shocking.
Yeah. But this definitely seems like EA is fully given up on Veilguard. Like they aren't even like worried about like let's put it on sale or anything like that.
It was on sale.
not as a. I feel like you.
I think
hit
I bought it for like 20 or
aggression.
20. I think I bought it for 25 or 30.
I saw it was like 40, I believe.
Okay,
when
maybe.
when on sale.
Yeah.
I feel like you go lower before you just sell it off to PlayStation Plus or Xbox Game Pass. This just seems like they just were like, we just need to get whatever return on investment we can.
It's weird. And at this point in time, I'm shocked that it's like also not a Game Pass announcement at this point. Just because if they're really trying to do that, but I'm sorry, if it's on EA Play, then it's on Game Pass. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, technically.
So, but
yeah.
I think
but it's usually a 6-month window. So
we're getting close to the same time frame. Yeah. But yeah, like this is EA being EA, and this is really kind of weird. Like the concurrent player count and the Steam numbers were really, really good for this game. Like really, really good.
The first like month were
yeah.
Really
So
good.
like this is not something that wasn't let's subscribe to Game Pass or let's subscribe to EA Origins or whatever the hell it's called and play and then be done and walk away. Like those are separate from the Steam numbers. These Steam numbers are purchased games. Like there was no, and also the early access to it was kind of ridiculous too. The 3-day early access to it. So like, what are EA's expectations? Like, come on. Like, especially like this year, like College Football 25 is the best. I think in 2024, I think it was MPD's number one. Like it was the number one selling game of 2024, I believe.
Call of Duty might have just jumped ahead of it.
Okay. Yeah. But it was.
Something jumped ahead of it, but it was the top 3.
Yeah, but and it only came in August. Like, so it's like August to December. Now, obviously, Call of Duty's only November. Don't come at me. I know. I get it. But Call of Duty's not, college football had the 10-year break. But for EA to have a top 3 MPD game, and
they were like, woe was me.
Right. Basically. And then potentially I'd have to look, but I would assume that Veilguard was in the top 15. Like I would really have to pull MPD. I don't have it in front of me. So, but it was what quote unquote a lackluster gaming year of 2024 of titles. I'm not saying it was. I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying what other people are saying. That like what's enough? Like what
my theory is there was never a number it could hit for it to be enough for EA.
Right.
EA felt like they were releasing Dragon Age because they felt obligated to do it because they were probably tired of hearing people talk about Dragon Age. And they don't want to take the PR hit for closing BioWare. I strongly believe if EA didn't give a fuck about Backlash, they probably would have canned BioWare like 3 games ago. Because of what they want to do financially don't line up with what BioWare can do for them. And this just feels like EA just being melodramatic. This is EA just being like, oh my God, woe is me. We're going to have to put this on Plus. Here you go. Because
yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
Doesn't even have
DLC
plans.
Yeah. Black Ops 6 was 1. College Football was 2. So.
Yeah. This is one of those things, though. Like, we've seen like games go on Plus relatively quickly, and it's usually because they have an expansion coming, so it's just like, hey, we're gonna get people the base game and then they're gonna buy the expansion and we're gonna get money we weren't gonna get. There's no DLC coming for this, so this is literally EA just throwing in a towel, being like, hey, maybe we can get some brownie points from people playing it. Maybe we can get the critics, the fan score up on Metacritic for it just a little bit because more people are gonna have access to it. But Veilguard definitely feels like one of those games that just kind of didn't get a fair shake.
Yeah, not in the top 20 though. So
yeah, I admit I didn't finish Veilguard, but it didn't deserve the hate that it was getting.
Yeah.
There was a discussion in our Discord about like Veilguard. A lot of people seem to like Veilguard, and we're just kind of they didn't understand like EA's disappointment in it, and then also there seemed to be a lot of like influencers and YouTubers that were really excited pre-launch and during the launch week that quickly turned against the game, which also might just be as soon as the checks stopped coming from EA, like opinions started to turn from the influencers.
Yeah, but they had 40 EA games had 40% of the MPD, and it's not even MPD anymore, but had 40% of the top 10 games sold in 2024, and Dragon Age wasn't on that list. So like, what's a success and what's a failure? Like I don't understand.
And EA was like, our numbers are down, and it's because this game. And it's just like, no.
You had college football. You had Madden. You had
How can your numbers be down and there's one new game franchise? Technically, you can say college football is a new franchise at this point because it's been so long. how are you going to be like, our numbers are down? And it's like, you had more games come out this year than you did the year before.
The EA Sports MVP bundle, which included Madden and college football together, was number 10. And then Madden, or the FC Club, or EA Sports FC, was number 8. And then Madden itself, by itself, was number 6. And college football was number 2. Like, so what is, and I don't really think that these games are public, like these kind of things publicly get their praise. I didn't know that Helldivers was number 3. Like, that's awesome. Yeah. Like Helldivers 2, like that's fantastic. And then I didn't know there was a Dragon Ball game out that was, let alone that good, to sell that much. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Like,
they're never that good, but they sell well.
Right. So, I mean, it's just kind of one of these things where, like, these games need, like, these kind of games need to get their flowers. Like, the goal is to sell software. And EA had 4 of the 10. If PlayStation had 4 of the top 10 selling ranked games, or Xbox had 4 of the top 10 ranked games, they wouldn't be shutting up about it. But EA's like, we're not hitting expectations. Like, stop moving the goalpost. Like,
yep. And I honestly feel like it's EA. They're looking for a reason to close their single player studios, their non-sport single player studios, and they need to start building up that you know, that reasoning, those bullet points for them, so they can then be justified. So then there is no backlash from the public, because the public will then turn on those studios with them and be like, yeah, you know what? They just weren't selling numbers. Look, there's all these stories from the last 5 years saying
it's just weird.
They can't do it. So EA definitely is gearing up to where, like, I hate to say it, but like Mass Effect needs to probably come out in the next 3 years, and it needs to be a hit.
Yeah.
If it takes longer than 3 years, I don't see BioWare lasting.
Biggest takeaway for me in this little bullet point news story you have is like, oh, the Ninja Turtle Cowboy Collection, the Cowabunga Collection. Like,
I figured that would
see
be
that.
the thing
Like,
get you. Yeah. Yeah, I figured that'd be the thing that would
Turtles.
get you.
Rockstar, please, Turtles. Hence why the next story, Rockstar Turtles.
Yeah. All right. So Warner Brothers Discovery is closing 3 studios. These reports always suck, but Warner Brothers had decided to close Monolith Productions, Player First Games, and WB San Diego to restructure their development efforts as a publisher to Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Mortal Kombat, and DC properties. So they only want to work on Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Mortal Kombat, and DC properties going forward. With the closure of Monolith, they are the developers behind Shadow of Mordor, which have been critically acclaimed and sold really well.
Yeah, there's 2 of them, I feel like.
2 of them, yes. Yeah,
2 Shadow
the first
games or
one.
something.
The first one getting like Game of the Year awards from like several outlets. Monolith was working on a DC property, and it was Wonder Woman. I wonder why that was canceled.
With allegedly similar mechanics to Shadows of Mordor.
Yes,
like,
with the Nemesis system that they trademarked and everything.
Yep.
Yeah. And a lot of people were like, why did they cancel Wonder Woman? It's a DC property. They said they want to work on DC property. The key term for that, for the execs at Warner Brothers, was probably the word woman. Most likely they were just like, this is going to be harder to market, because that's how executives think. So,
no, it wasn't, because the good Wonder Woman movie did really, really, really well.
Yes, no, and the executives are stupid, so they're like, we're going to focus on DC properties. Yeah. What they mean is we're going to focus on Batman.
Yeah, or Superman.
We're not going to focus on DC as a whole. We're going to focus on
So we're going to
make
Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, which the Game of Thrones games I think have been bad.
All shit.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat, which has always been a hit above its weight class fighter, that has its built-in audience, you know. And then DC properties, Batman's, whatever Gunn's making movies of, is that what we're going to try to make games of. We're going to try to keep up with Gunn, and you can't.
And the annoying thing is, Gunn will probably make a Wonder Woman movie in 5 years, and then DC's going to be like, we need a Wonder Woman game.
Yep.
And then
somebody at Rockstar is going to throw their notebook at somebody and be like, get the fuck out.
Yeah, Rocksteady.
Rocksteady, sorry.
Yeah, Rocksteady's going to be like, you did have a studio. They were called Monolith, you fucking idiots. Player First Games, which just relaunched Multiverses last year, is being shut down. Multiverses was already previously announced to be shutting down its servers sometime this year, so it's not too unexpected that this happened. Like, their first game is getting shut down, therefore the studio was most likely going to be, right behind it. And then San Diego Warner Brothers was formed in 2019. there isn't too much information on what they were
Yeah.
doing, so it sounds like they might have been a support studio, maybe a mobile studio. They're being shut down. Other reports have speculated that Rocksteady have been told to return to the Arkham universe for their next project, and some are believing it's going to be a Batman Beyond title just because they kind of fucked up the Arkham verse pretty hard, that it's going to be difficult for them to go back to it because of Kill the Justice League.
My number one concern with that last bullet point on this story is that they've been told to return to Arkham, which means that they haven't started.
Correct.
Whatever this is. So if it is a Batman Beyond title, which sounds amazing, by the way, we're still looking at 4 years, like 5 probably,
which is scary if you're owned by Warner Brothers, that like you're gonna get time to do it.
Yeah.
Especially we're talking about Warner Brothers today, not Warner Brothers of a couple years ago. We're talking about incompetent company Warner Brothers.
Especially when some of these Arkham games, Arkham City, I believe, was like it was a Game of the Year contender post like Arkham Asylum. You know, Arkham Asylum was great, and it was everybody thought it was just a little bit too tight with it just being in the asylum, a little short too. And then Arkham City came out, and that kind of started this like a huge open world thing, and where to me like the Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and then was it Arkham Origins?
Which was done by
a different one, and then Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight just got too big.
Yeah, and that was the problem where like people were
I didn't play it, and it's too big. Like I thought Arkham City was too big with the phones ringing and all that stuff going on, but I still enjoyed that flying around doing that stuff in that combat. And then Arkham Knight got even bigger, and I'm like,
Yeah, and it was a little messy of experience. Story's still worthwhile, but definitely seemed like it got too big for its own good. But the idea that they're going to have to start on something, because they just finished the Suicide Squad season, the final season, not too long ago, and that was so underwhelming that it was just told through
shoveled
comic
out.
Still images. You know,
we said story. We were doing this. Here you go. Shut up.
Yeah, and now that they're like, hey, go back to Arkham, which is a very complicated thing to ask them to do based on where they took that franchise. So them potentially going to Batman Beyond just makes sense. Also, it kind of gives them an out for changing Batman's voice to like someone else, because you know Kevin Conroy passed away, so they can do a different Bruce Wayne and be like, oh, he's older, he sounds different, and then have whoever they have for Batman Beyond. I always forget his name. That gives them that out, especially because Gotham Knights used a lot of characters you could have had
that game. I own that game too.
Yeah, and that game was
okay.
It was okay, but that open world felt so dead. Like that was just a depressing open world game. But that also put Rocksteady in a weird spot of just like, this isn't connected, but these are some characters we would love to use, but they can't now because it's going to be associated with Gotham Knights. So it puts them in like a weird spot where they got to figure out their future, and they also have to figure it out fast. Monolith is really disappointing just because you have a studio that put out Game of the Year contenders back to back,
did something unique in a game
that they copyright wrote or have copyrights on, and no one else can use that feature at all. And now that feature is gone, that studio's gone. And the Wonder Woman game sounded cool, so some of the writers on the game basically came out and were like, hey, we were consultants and this was going to be pretty cool. Obviously they would say that because they're working on it, but it did sound like there could have been some interesting things happening there. And it also has been in development for a couple of years now, but that's all gone.
All the work is gone. Like, and I get it. I know you've explained it to me as like a tax write-off and write it off as a loss, but it's just gone.
Yep. It's just gone, and the work won't be able to repurpose. They have no studios left.
A Nightwing solo game. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of different things they can do, but to Michael's point, somebody in the chat, I can't say this, asked, and but to Michael's point, Nightwing was in Gotham Knights. So like, I believe he was in Gotham Knights, right? Yeah.
He was.
Yeah. Okay. How do you you could get away with a standalone game potentially, but it would automatically get harped on by reviewers if it had no connection to Gotham Knights at all. Like it would be a thing. Like, why is this character, like, why does he look different? I mean, like, you got to remember, we had the backlash around the Avengers game because they didn't look like what society established that the Marvel Avengers look like. Iron Man didn't look like Robert Downey Jr., you know, and so it was, you know, you can't win.
Yeah, they would have to basically come out and do what James Gunn is basically doing now for the movies of just like, hey, we're rebooting everything. Forget everything in the past. They would need Rocksteady to come out and be like, the Arkham world is dead.
Yeah.
We are starting fresh, and we're starting with Nightwing, or we're starting with
a
Red
new
Hood.
Gotham, a non-Arkham Gotham.
Yeah, because they have too much history in the other one, and other than retconning.
I don't think he's talking about Bloodhaven City. I don't think that'll work with the mass audiences, though. If you're gonna do anything that has the name Batman in it, you have to do Gotham.
Yeah, and you have to go full force. You can't be like the Arkhamverse presents or something
Correct.
like that.
It's just like we've talked about with Spider-Man. Like there almost can't be a Spider-Man game without you spending some time in New York. Like there just can't.
Yeah, and Batman Beyond gives them a little bit of an out because it has Batman in the title.
Yeah.
So you can do, you know, Arkham Batman Beyond, and that will be enough to catch people. Yeah, it looks completely different. It's not Bruce Wayne, but it would at least be enough of a thing where that can catch eyes on shelves or on digital storefronts.
Yeah.
At this point. So they're like, Rocksteady's in a weird spot right now. Like, I wish they would just make something else and get out of that Arkhamverse.
The true tell of if this is going to work will be that Captain America Black Panther game. That's kind of in its own in its own lane. Like, it's still Black Panther, it's still Captain America, but it's in its own independent lane. If that catches the audience's attention enough, like, Rocksteady needs to pay very, very, very close attention.
Especially that's going to be a smaller experience, and you probably need to go as lean as possible.
Yep, they need to pay very, very close attention to this Black Panther Captain America game. I can't think of the official name of it right now. I'm sorry. But this is the Amy Hennig game, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So they need to pay very, very close attention to how this goes. What works in it, what doesn't work in it, what I don't know any other term to use, but the comic book nerds say about it. Is it accepted? Is it granted? Is it considered
1943?
Yeah, 1943. Thank you. Is it considered canon? Is it new canon? Does it establish a new pillar in the story of Black Panther and Captain America? Because this is Captain America before he got frozen, and this is
not
T'Challa. So this is a great example of, this is not your normal Batman. This is not your normal Captain America. This is not your normal Black Panther. It's not your normal Batman.
Vehicle for that.
Correct.
Yeah. So
they need to watch that carefully, or hopefully, God, please let somebody be friends with people in that studio. Like, go get a beer, please.
Yeah, because and that's the thing is, like, I don't think Warner Brothers would. Warner Brothers already has shown clearly that they don't care about Batwoman.
Right.
So you're not going to get a Batwoman game. Yeah. Unfortunately,
they shoehorned Batgirl into Gotham Knights, so they're pigeonholed that way.
Yeah, and then just live action, they've canceled the TV show. They canceled that movie before it could even be released.
Yep.
I think Nightwing would take too much explanation of, like, which Robin is this?
Yep.
And was that Robin in any of the Arkham games?
Yep.
And then
what movie was he attached to? Like, that's what people do.
Yeah. So Batman Beyond would probably be the best route that they could go.
And Rocksteady has DC's backing, has DC's like support. And
DC loves them so much.
Yeah, they let them make their own character. Like they let them make their own dude.
They change someone's origin.
Yeah. So like they can give them something cool. Like DC can go to them and be like, this is the foundation, and then Rocksteady's like, okay, cool, this is what we want to do. This is what we want to build, and DC can be like, go have fun. You know, versus them feeling like that they have to stay on a specific lane on a specific freeway going at a certain speed. Yeah,
no, I don't envy anyone at Rocksteady right now, because you're probably like you're
on a make or break game. You're on a make or break publishing title right now, and you probably, to your point earlier, like a couple minutes ago, you're on a make or break game, and you have a tight ass window, like super tight. Because to your point,
you better be under budget.
When is WB going to be bored with you?
Yeah,
like, are you going to get the game out before they get bored with you?
And pre-Suicide Squad, I feel like Rocksteady had the leeway. They could go to the heads of Warner Brothers and be like, we need more time, we need more money.
Rocksteady was before Suicide Squad. I would argue that Rocksteady was a top 5 studio. like in the gaming industry,
which
like
is why they had the leeway to take so long to develop.
Maybe
their
4
game.
or 5 or 6. You know, I wouldn't put them above Naughty Dog. I wouldn't have put them above, you know, certain places at
We
that
should
time.
rank studios soon.
Yeah, but we'd have to go really far
It's
back.
hard now.
So it's,
But now, like, if you're the head of Rocksteady, you're like, okay, I need to promise a window, and we need to hit that window. We need to hit under budget, because if we ask Warner Brothers for more money, they're going to be like, we're broke, and they're going to start looking to can studios and stuff.
yeah,
So yeah,
for sure.
it's a tough situation. And then if you're NetherRealm, you're already knowing, you're like, we're gonna have to do another Injustice game, whether we like to or not.
Yep. So it's going to be Mortal Kombat Injustice, and then they're going to WB's gonna be like, no, I'll put them together.
Yeah, they'll find a way or to do something. But like, you know, it's they're in a spot too of just like they can't afford anything to just be slightly under their previous project. Like that's how shaky it is.
I can't imagine that stress on NetherRealm of like you have to make the top tier competitive fighter, and you have like anything else is fail.
Yeah, and
a great story and microtransactions and service stuff.
Yeah, and I saw some people being like, why didn't Warner Brothers just sell these studios? Warner Brothers said 2 years ago that they are actively shopping studios. No one bid. I'm sure they.
I'm sure people bid, but Warner Brothers like, that's not what we want.
Tax write-offs worth it more.
Yeah,
or something.
like
yeah.
Because like we talked about, like what is the DC video game IP worth? Like,
no, and that's the big thing. Like,
what is
Monolith,
Mortal Kombat worth?
Billions,
right? Like, and who gets it? Like, you know, like obviously you buy NetherRealm, so like you got to buy a studio, and you got to buy an IP, and on top of the heels of what we saw with the Bungie acquisition, the some of the Xbox stuff, just the quote unquote like these return on investments of this video game consolidation aren't working.
And you have to also imagine, like, okay, say you are able to buy NetherRealm and Mortal Kombat from DC. You're not going to get the engine that's producing the merch, the movies, or any of that stuff for Mortal Kombat. So you're going to have to work separate deals for licensing and all that stuff, just because if you don't have the engine behind
I'm sure that
brand,
there was a couple people, like 6 or 8 people, 3 people for one company and 5 people for Warner Brothers, like sitting down eating a meal and going, okay, let's talk about this. Like, okay, so like this is 2.5 million, this is 7 million. Oh, you want that? That's 12 million. And they're like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like,
and when you say million, it's billion.
Yeah. I was just like, check. Oh, okay. So you want the engine? Okay, that has a dollar amount. Oh, you want the IP? That has a dollar amount. Oh, you want the people that made the studio that made the game? That has a dollar amount. Oh, you want the publisher? That has a dollar amount. And then the other company, whether it's EA, Ubisoft, Sony, Microsoft, any of them are like, yep, no, we're good. Like, sorry.
Yeah. And then, unfortunately, when it comes to Monolith, you would be like, okay, we want to buy Monolith and the Nemesis.
Yep. And Shadow Series and Mordor. Like,
and then Warner Brothers is like, guess what? We don't own Lord of the Rings anymore.
Yeah.
You're going to have to work out a deal with Embracer
No, we're good.
Group.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Yeah, it's like too much work.
Keep your studios. Keep your stuff.
The Nemesis, I don't even know what game mechanic patent isn't worth like the effort for companies.
And when does it expire? Like, so like a lot of times, like the one copyright that always sticks out of my head, and most people know this about me, I'm a sneakerhead. Early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, Nike's trademark on the word air expired. Because it was 30 years or whatever it was, and that's a brand, like, not a video game thing. So like, if you know, like, there's probably some lawyer poking somebody, going, "Hey, that Nemesis thing expires in 4 years. It's not worth it for 4 years. We're gonna have to re-up it. We'll just buy it in 4 years."
Yeah, and then it's also one of those things where it's just like, okay, cool, we have the ability to do this. The one company that knows how to do it well, is owned by another company, or now no longer exists. So then it just makes things even more muddy and just a mess in general. But yeah, I'm sure this isn't going to be the last we hear of Warner Brothers. They seem to be just kind of cleaning house and expecting things to get better.
Yeah. So Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War, I think, was first, right? Middle Earth Shadow of War, 2017. If I had to guess,
That was the second one.
That was the second one. Okay.
I want to say.
So
Shadow of Mordor was the first one, and that one, 2014.
Okay. So 12-year, 15-year trademark on Nemesis? If you're talking about
So it depends on how some of those are, because they can be
Yeah.
decade-long patents. I doubt they got the that 100-year Mickey Mouse one, but they definitely probably got a decent one on it. I can look it up, but yeah, I'm sure it's not a forever patent because those don't really exist anymore. But yeah, and even then, like when you trademark and stuff like that, you see this with names like the Nike Air.
2035. Sorry, 2035. The patent on the Nemesis game mechanic as seen in the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor series is currently valid until 2035, giving Warner Brothers exclusive right to the system paid of a 20-year period. So 2015.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you would have to buy that patent for them, and Warner Brothers would probably have been a dick about it. Of just like, that's actually worth more than a studio.
However, as long as the company keeps up with the associated fees.
Which those fees aren't crazy expensive, so I
Right.
could see Warner Brothers just having it on auto pay with a lawyer or something.
Yeah.
But that one day that lawyer slips up, someone's going to swoop in and grab it.
You're going to see Microsoft purchases Nemesis system. Like,
Yeah, I mean, tangent, but like a wrestler got his name from WWE back because a lawyer forgot to renew it on like a Monday or something. So like stuff like this happens where like you have people that are just scouting when things are going to expire, and they try and beat the owner to renew it. That's all I have for news today. Again, we might have some stuff to follow up on next week as things are developing. Unfortunately, it's a lot of layoff stuff like usual.
All right, so we're going to move on to what's delayed, and you're going to have to tell me about this one. So Fable has been delayed until 2026. How and when and why was this announced?
So Fable's delay was announced, I want to say earlier this week, maybe sometime last week. It didn't have like an official like release date other than 2025.
Right.
And they are now delaying it to give it extra time and polish. And from reports, this sounds like this is one of those things where it was going to come out around the speculated Grand Theft Auto window, and they're just deciding like, let's just get out of the way. Someone brought up a good point of the game's been in development so long, a delay is not going to make the game better. Like the game is what the game is at this point. Like you're not going to be doing any groundbreaking work in a year to like turn this game around if it needs to be turned around. This mostly just sounds like the first half for Xbox is really packed. The second half is empty, but it's empty for a reason, and that's because everyone's waiting for Rockstar to announce when Grand Theft Auto is coming out. So this sounds like they just wanted to play it safe, and they're just delaying it now. Extra polish would hopefully be beneficial to them, but it's not going to be anything drastic happening with the game. And honestly, Dave, this is the first time I'm going to say it. Xbox is in a good place right now with their game releases.
Mm-hmm.
Delaying this to next year isn't the worst thing because of how packed their first half is this year.
Yeah. And this has to be right. Like this is Spencer going to who's ever, I'm sorry, I can't think of who's ever making this right now.
Playground.
Yeah. And saying like this has to be right. Like even the little attention that we saw of it at some little small trailers, whether they're cinematic trailers, like that garnered a lot of interest, a lot of conversation. This has to be right. This can't.
And even if it's not like this has to be right, it also could just be like, hey, this might not hit that much, but at least if it's bug free,
Yeah.
like we don't have.
Well,
to deal
I mean,
with that
Avowed is
backlash.
out there. I wouldn't say that it's silent, but I wouldn't say that it's ripping the world apart either. But it's that
It's getting attention.
solid 8. You know, like that, and
Yeah.
and it's that continuous. If they can bring out 6 solid 8s every year, like they're not gonna. Are they gonna have a game of the year contention? No. But are they gonna go 7 years between a studio releasing a game too? No.
It's gonna be one of those things where, like, if they go on a run, Keeley's gonna have to have an award for like best publisher or something, just to like placate them to get some award, because so far none of their games have been worthy of game of the year. But again, they've been solid 8s. So we might see a publisher of the year award just for them if they can keep hitting this cadence, because they have what Doom next month.
May.
or in May.
March, May.
And then they have this random stuff like Expedition 33 coming to Game Pass and a couple
Midnight,
other
not Midnight
things.
Suns, but what's the South of Midnight?
South of Midnight. That's coming out next month.
Yep.
And of course, Avowed just came out. And Avowed's doing good, though. It's getting those weird like influencer clapback of just like you get the influencers that got to play it ahead of time, really enjoyed it, and then now that it's released, the influencers that didn't get to play it ahead of time are going really hard against it.
Right.
And it's just a messy
Yeah.
influencer world out there.
And
but it seems to be
I
fair.
get it. Like
decent.
so I have a contact at Bethesda. I have a good friend at Bethesda that I could probably get us whatever we needed from Bethesda. Hence, I could also probably get us a contact at Microsoft. But it's not worth it because everything's coming to Game Pass. Like, what's the point? Like, okay, 10 days. And that's that would be a stressful 10 days. If I got Avowed 10 days.
I'll take an Avowed hoodie. I can be bought, Dave.
But like, there's just there's a lot of mess there that I could easily get a couple names and try to pitch our stuff. And I would actually be more interested in doing interviews or finding out other stuff about what's going on with that than I would be about reviewing the games at this point in time. Like, I am tired of reviewing games because it's just a no win. Oh, you said that was a 9 and I played it and it was 6. You're dumb. Like, I'm done with that. Like, I don't want to hear that. Play the game. Do what you want. I'll stream it maybe, and if I'm enjoying it, I'll tell you if I'm enjoying it. I'll tell you what I like about it. I'll tell you what I don't like about it. That's it. I don't need to write 3,000 words. I don't need to explain something that somebody then is going to look at 4 months later and be like, well, this isn't what this game plays like. Yeah, because it got patched, dumbass.
I think I fell out of love with reviewing when I gave a game like a 3.5, and then I was told I was being too soft on reviews, and I was just like, you know what? Fuck reviews, because I gave this a 3 out of 10, and I'm too soft. Reviews are a mess, and everything is like an influencer world right now, and we're seeing how petty and small influencers can be, to where you can't even enjoy
get my
anything.
Game, and my buddy next to me got the game. Where?
And then it just turns into like this like thing where they just they just start insulting the reviewer or the influencer that liked it, and then like I'm so tired of seeing people that I like respect Twitter accounts just turning to like I need to defend myself 24/7 on my account.
Like when they've got like a 10 tweet thread, I'm like, I'm done.
And there's nothing wrong with them defending themselves, but it's just one of those scenes where it's just like, this is where we're at, to where you can't even say I like a game without having to get ready for our like battle the next day on social media. It's wild, and we're seeing it more and more.
It's part of the reason why Michael and I have kind of just stopped asking for and also given up on reviewing games. We're going to play it. He's going to tell you if he likes it, he doesn't like it. He's going to tell you what he likes about it, what he doesn't like about it. I'm going to play something, maybe, and tell you what I like about it and don't like about it. And if I'm enjoying it, I'll stream it, and I'll keep talking that I'm playing it. But for the most part, it's just like, I don't miss the trying to go to sleep at night thinking about like a deadline or what I'm going to write or how I'm going to explain my opinion on something that somebody else is going to vehemently disagree with me. Yeah.
And in a way that they didn't even read or listen to everything you said fully. As soon as you said like, I enjoyed, they're like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing. But yeah, that's Fable was delayed, Dave. We got into a little bit of a tangent, but Fable was delayed.
All right, so what we're playing and watching. I'll go first because I did watch. I finished all of Cobra Kai, so it's over.
It's done completely. Yeah.
Yes, it's there is a alleged spinoff happening or whatever, but I haven't seen that being confirmed or not being confirmed. It does look like there was a little Easter egg tease at the end of Cobra Kai about something with Back to the Future because of the same people. I don't know what that would be, but Cobra Kai, I would probably say in season like 4, 5, and 6, like really kind of jumped the shark. Like it got a little ridiculous with like the fight scenes and how things were going and what things were doing, and it even got it had its ridiculousness in the last. First of all, I was irritated by part 1, part 2, and part 3 of season 7. Like, but Netflix is trying to keep its subscribers concurrent, so it was like September, December, and February. This is what I watched on the plane because I could turn my tablet into airplane mode. I had it downloaded on Netflix, and I could hold my tablet in my hand and didn't have to worry about my tray table being upright or whatever. But the way that it tied back to Miyagi, Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence, just phenomenal. The way that they kind of like tied the bow onto it and everything like that and closed. They did a true, like they knew it was ending. They knew they were done, and they told you they were done. They didn't leave a little door cracked open a little bit. They didn't leave a little morsel or a hint at something else. They didn't do some stupid little like you walk away from the show like, is it over? Like, is that guy dead? Like, they didn't do any of that. It was very clear that they have closed the door and moved on, and I think they did a phenomenal job. So that was primarily what we watched. I watched on the tablet. I watched. I started watching the Creed movies again just because it was on Southwest like Wi-Fi after I finished Cobra Kai that was downloaded and that other stuff. So I got into watching like all 3 of the Creed movies. Good music, decent movies, whatever. I don't know. I like them. I'm a fan of the Rocky movies, but I didn't feel like watching the Rocky stuff at that time. So. Yes, I would watch the Karate Kid Legend movie, absolutely. So, with Rafa, I can't think of his official name, but the guy that plays Daniel LaRusso and Jackie Chan, and some other things as they're trying to tie that together. So I would definitely watch that. So, so yeah, for the most part, watching, I've been dabbling in Destiny again. So. Somebody put this really good the other day that I listened to or caught something. There's been times where, and Michael can probably attest to this as well, with whatever game you're playing or currently playing, that you don't feel like a game sometimes values your time or your investment. You do something for like 2 hours and you walk away and you don't feel like you accomplished anything or did anything. Currently right now, at least for this time period, when I go on to play Destiny right now, I feel like that I have a goal. I accomplished the goal. I get what I'm looking for. Mostly. If I don't get what I'm looking for, I have another chance of getting something else. So I've always talked about, is there loot to chase and is the activity fun? Those 2 things are currently happening right now. Are they going to last until whatever we hear about Frontiers in June or July or whenever this is supposed to come out? I don't know. I can tell you right now, I'm enjoying the time of chasing certain things that I want, and how long that'll last for, I can't tell you. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying my 2 hours every 2 or 3 days doing stuff with my friends and getting things that I want and messing around with stuff and having fun. They brought a new ability into the game. It's a shit ton of fun. I can like sit there and make lightning come out of the sky and kill stuff. And I can just keep doing it, and it's great. And I'm having a blast doing it. That's just kind of where I'm at right now with that. And I have a VOD download on the ROG. The plan was to pre-install it and hopefully I could play it on the a little bit on the ship. I mainly brought it as a possible piece to if there was a rainy day or a really bad day that I wanted something that I could do, and I never even unzipped my case when I was on the ship at all. Speaking of the cruise, I did a Caribbean cruise, Costa Maya, Mayan ruins, Honduras. We got the zip line through Honduras. Owen zip line through Honduras. Like, that was so much fun. There was like 10 or 11 zip lines. Some of them like 300 feet or 400 feet, and some of them like 1,100 or 1,200 feet. It was super fun, super cool. The cruise was fine. It was very low ceilings. Like, everything's like 6.5 feet. So,
yeah.
But I mean, overall, like a couple of the shows they did, like my first cruise, I was very, very happy with the cruise. I don't feel like my money was wasted. But like, would I cruise again? Yeah, probably. There might be, I might have a couple other things I'm looking for on a boat that I didn't get on this one. So, and you kind of learn, but, have you ever been on a cruise?
No,
Okay.
Sarah doesn't really like water like that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So my biggest takeaway from doing the cruise is I think there's a thing called Landsick. And and it on Sunday and Monday, and today's Wednesday, but Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, like if I was sitting here right now, it would still feel like it's moving. Like, it was giving me that tilting feeling. Now, it was cold on Friday coming home, like coming through the Gulf of Mexico, back to Galveston and near Houston.
Thank you, Dave.
I'm not, the
I
pilot
know.
or the captain called it that too, just for the record. But it was like 45 degrees in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. That's cold. Like, I like
Pretty cool.
30 degrees in
Okay.
Michigan, 20 degrees in Michigan is cold, but you at least have trees or houses or things. And
Yeah, open
you-
water cold is
it's
something else.
like, I was just like, wow. Like, I don't wear my hats like super tight, and my Tiger's hat almost flew off once on me. Like, and I was just like, this has got some movement. There's nothing to slow the wind down, and it just whips through. Like, but I knew you risked that when you're going anywhere in the United States in February. Like, unless it's like California, I think that would be like the Southern California would be like the only safe place. And even when we went to San Diego last year at the same time, colder and wet. So
yeah, Sarah was just in California and Anaheim.
Yeah.
End of January, and it was like 40 degrees and rainy.
Yeah, and that's what it was like in San Diego. It wasn't 40 degrees when we were in San Diego last year, but it was cold. It was wet and it was colder. So, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, had a good time. Felt very, purposely, but felt very disconnected. And that was nice. My job did fantastic, not talking to me at all. They were kind of under orders from my boss to not communicate with me because she's like, you have to go on vacation. So but overall I had a great time. I'll post some pictures and some stuff probably in the Discord or something just to give you guys an idea of what's going on. But that has pretty much been my last 2 weeks. So
yeah, for me it has been a ton of Marvel Rivals. Work sucks lately, mentally just draining. So it's just been a lot of just like, I have energy when I get home to play 1 or 2 rounds of Marvel Rivals. I did make it into I think I'm Diamond 2 now, and that is pretty good for me. It took me a while to get to Diamond in Overwatch, and there's significantly more levels you have to get through in Marvel's Rivals to get there. So I'm enjoying that. I did work on having backup characters because once you get the Diamond, they implement the ban system where the enemy team can ban ban characters for you to play. And I basically was like, if someone bans my main, which is Squirrel Girl, then I'm screwed. So I learned how to play Invisible Woman so I could flex the healer. Moon Knight is my backup DPS. I don't have any tank that I'm really good with, especially at the diamond level. So it's one of those things where I can flex to another DPS if I need to, and I can flex to a healer. I did have a match where my main was taken, my backup was banned, and my third backup was already taken. So then I had to panic and play a healer that I'm just not good at. We ended up still winning, surprisingly, but it was a very sweaty match, and someone in a chat was like, MJC is throwing, and I was just like, I wanted to go into chat of being like, it's not my fault, my 3 characters have been taken. But was able to get through it. I've learned though now that I just need to do, if I basically for competitive play, I'll do 1 game. If I win, I just have to I have to walk away. I don't want to get into the habit of just taking multiple losses in a row if I can avoid it. If I get a win, I should just be happy, and I'll just do my dailies and my monthlies that refresh. The monthlies refresh every day if you complete, the 3 that you have available, and then you have your just traditional dailies that just reset every day. So I'm just like, okay, I finish the battle pass, and I just do quick play until I'm, tired. After I do like my 1 to maybe 2 competitive games. So yeah, just been a lot of Marvel Rivals, picking up a lot of video games lately. It's a lot more than what I'm posting in the Discord. Recently picked up Concord, looking forward to playing that. Got a good deal on it. Dave, should I crack the shrink wrap on my copy of Concord?
That's gonna be like a lottery ticket in like 20 years, man.
Yeah, I picked that up for
Why
like
didn't you buy
$20.
2 copies of it?
I can send you the eBay link if you want to pick up a copy too. I
but
found someone who was selling.
Buy 2?
Dave, I have a mortgage. I can't be buying silly things.
It's like a Subway sandwich now.
No, there was $25.
Have you priced Subway recently?
You know what? I did go a couple months ago, and the sandwich I used to get that was $11 for the meal was $17.
Yeah.
And I was so upset that I had to tap my card and pay $17 for a fucking Subway sandwich.
That's what I'm saying. You said you paid like $20 for Concord, so I'm saying
yeah,
you're like.
No. Yeah. So I've been picking stuff on eBay, just building out my collection. I actually need to go do a purge of my collection just to get rid of stuff that I just don't really need, just because my shelves are getting full to a point where I want to make sure I'm collecting the right things. So I have to purge. I ended up grabbing 15 games, and I'm just going to take to a retro game store and just get what I can for it. I did pick up one of my grails. What Remains of Edith Finch, which was a limited run game.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to guess how much I paid for it?
Okay, so it was a limited run game. What Remains of Edith Finch?
PS4.
PS4 sealed.
Yes.
$50.
No.
Oh, so that's high.
That's low.
Okay. Oh, okay. So 150
Yeah.
bucks?
135.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have it digitally like on like 2 platforms, but I wanted a sealed copy because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
special.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna keep it sealed. But yeah, I picked that up. It's usually going for like 190. I just found like an eBay sale that or an eBay auction that was just ending, and I
Awesome.
just happened to luck out. But that means I have to take like a couple weeks off from buying something because I picked up the Grail. But yeah, so I'm still game collecting and barely playing anything. And I'm almost done with our Twin Peaks rewatch that we started like 2 weeks ago. We're in the final season, and we're like halfway through.
Did I give you any crap about your Chicago Bills missing like 35 3-pointers against my Pistons?
You might have. But yeah, that they're a shit team. But they killed the Sixers. For some reason they were up 50 on the Sixers.
The Pistons smoked the Celtics tonight, and I'm like shocked.
The Pistons are one of those games or one of those teams now where like they're going to sneak into the playoffs, and it's going to be one of those teams that they can upset someone.
Yeah, they might get home
I don't
court in the
think they
playoffs.
I don't think they can win a championship, but I think they can upset like a favorite if they wanted to.
One of their top 3 players has a freaking broken leg, and they're doing this right now. So he's going to be back next season. It takes a little bit for me to pay attention to basketball, and the Pistons are just doing stuff that they haven't done in like 20 years.
They're a fun team,
Yeah.
and they're all at the age where it's like they're going to be fun for the next 5 years. They're basically where OKC is, or where OKC was like 4 years ago.
So basketball is very hard to watch currently for me, but college or pro, just because they just chuck threes, and watching them play the Celtics today was like, oh my gosh, they're just chucking threes, like the little half hour, 45 minutes I watched before we recorded. But it's a very interesting time in Detroit sports in general. Like the Red Wings are surging, the Pistons are surging, the Tigers are coming off a playoff run. So it's super interesting just to see like kind of what's going on with just locally, and it's just a lot of fun right now. So it's my little sports tangent. Sorry. All right, so I think that is our show for this week. You guys need to start sending us some questions. So please send us some questions so we can have a little bit of conversational pieces on this. But you can send those in the Discord server. There's a specific place of channel in there. I've asked Digital Days. You can put them on Twitter if you feel like it. I have to still put my main account back on when I got something happened and updated, and I haven't re-signed back into it because I think you have to give me a code. I don't remember. But
I don't remember. Yeah.
So, but yeah, at Digital Days Pod is the main Twitter account. At The First MJC is Michael's, and at Good Dave Hunt is mine. I would say Twitter is not as important right now for us as I would more implore you to join our Discord. That would be what I would say. I try to pay a little bit of attention to Facebook, but my head hurts when I open Facebook now. So
my head hurts when I open Twitter now.
Yeah. So my Twitter feed is clean enough that I use it for like Adam Scheffner for sports.
The For You page is
I don't
where
ever go to
hell
that.
breaks loose.
Yeah, I don't ever go to that. So.
The For You page is no longer for me. Like,
Yeah.
It is for someone else who we won't name.
Yeah, so I apologize if you follow me on Twitter. You expect me to do something. I don't. I would just implore you to join our Discord between whatever, and maybe we'll do something with Blue Sky. I think I put something on my phone for that. Is that the name for it? Blue Sky? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Blue Sky.
Okay. That would be. I feel like that would be like a little bit of a safer domain, but for the most part, if you're subscribed to our podcast, you're going to hear what we're doing. If you follow us on YouTube, you follow us on Twitch, you're going to know what's going on. There's a handful of you that have watched or that are watching the show live right now. Just overall, join the Discord. If you're watching us on Twitch, please consider just checking your subscription, making sure your Amazon account is linked to your Twitch account. Some of the prices are going up. If you decide to support us on Twitch financially just by purchasing a subscription, thank you. I would rather you take that $8 and put it towards our Patreon, because I'm sure we get a higher return on investment than that. Because like Twitch subs are like $8 now. But full disclosure, if it is $8, we get like $3.50 or $4 of it. So there is a good investment. If you have the Amazon thing, please just use it on us or somebody. Please. Michael and I are by no means like relying on this for any kind of financial independence. Like we are doing this purely just out of for fun for us. But it does show support, sending a question, commenting on something, reacting to something, making a comment in the Discord saying, "Hey, I really enjoyed this week's episode. I'd like to talk about this." Like that kind of thing just gives us that dopamine effect that helps us keep doing that. Our community is awesome. And when the couple times I run into some people in voice chats or in games, or like we link up and play, or the little compliments I get of like, "Oh, like I still listen to your show. It's great." Like we appreciate it. But the little things go a long way. So please consider just getting a little bit more interactive, sharing the show and any of that stuff. And you can do that all the multiple ways that I listed. So, and it's all linked in the show notes. Please check it out. Other than that, I hope everyone has a great week and keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See you. All right.
Yeah, exporting. I think your boy Josh watched us the whole time and didn't say a word.
He probably had it in the background, fell asleep. He's an old man.
He's still there.
Who knows how long that beard and that hair is now.
Oh my God. His hair is like probably 100% longer than mine. So.
Yeah. It always was, apparently.
Yep. So, all right, those of you that are watching on the stream on YouTube or Twitter, thank you so much. YouTube or Twitch, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and have a great night.